Hello, y'all. Welcome to another Filmside Chats. And you might be realizing this is a little not ordinary because you might be seeing on the screen there little tile boards. And I just wanted to say we are shifting up the sort of concept of Filmside Chats. We are going to be much more of a podcast traditional kind of idea. And I have brought someone on board who is very happy to join us, and he will be explaining what we are doing today and who he is. And I'll just hand it off. Take it away, Nate.
Alrighty, for those who don't know me here on Filmside Chats, my name is Nate. I'm also a huge film fan, much like Alec himself. In fact, a couple of the reviews that he's done were suggestions that were given by myself. Um, and yeah, so what we're going to be doing here today is I thought a good way to introduce myself, and so Alec can also introduce, some of his favorite movies and whatnot. Is an idea that I came up with called a 3x3. And essentially, all it is you take 9 movies, you put them on a grid of 3x3, and then we're gonna go through each of these, explain why we put them on there, and then just I think that would be a great way to introduce myself, and then of course Alec can, you know, talk about movies that he likes, because it's not like
Hell
he doesn't do
yeah.
that much already.
It's a great time.
Oh yeah, the first movie I have on mine is a little movie that came out this year, and it's a pretty exciting movie in my opinion. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I didn't mention this before, but we all put something on our 3x3s for a reason. I'm gonna let Alec guess the reason. We're gonna do this back and forth. I want Alec to guess the reason
Huh.
why I put this on my grid.
Yeah. I feel like it's gotta be like the movie that's broken you the most or something like that.
Mm, you're on the right path, but
I'll take it.
I feel like it's the movie that can balance being as off the wall, like silly kind of just out there kind of idea that you can, as well as being
Oh.
emotionally moving at the same time, because that's something that's really hard to do in movies. Like tonally shifting like that far in like 5 minutes is something that's unheard of for most movies, but Everything Everywhere All at Once does it perfectly. And I mean, all of the emotional beats hit well. I love all of the characters, they're all likable. The action's great in it. I mean, it's just a fantastic movie. And I think that the way that they're able to balance that kind of silliness with also, there's some serious stuff that we can touch on in this movie. I think that that's really cool and something you don't see a lot. That kind of originality that you get from Daniels is something that,
Oh yeah.
it goes a long way, man. It's really interesting to me, and I don't think we're gonna get anything like it probably until the next Daniels film.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, really funny that you say that because the I actually have the other Daniels movie on mine, Swiss Army Man.
Oh yeah.
uh, and I actually have it under the exact same thing. Um,
Are
'Cause
you are you kidding me?
I am not
Man.
because
Wow.
I I know I've mentioned it to you a few times, but I think Swiss Army Man is actually the better of the two.
Yeah.
I really love it. I think it does a really great job of balancing this really sort of childish humor that I think they really hone in a lot on Everything Everywhere. But I just feel like it's more raw in this one, and it just has so much heart as well. And just like you said, it's it's so creative. It's so good.
Like there are some sequences in Everything Everywhere. I have not seen Swiss Army Man yet. I haven't seen it yet. But there are
Hmm.
some sequences in Everything Everywhere that I just kind of sit there and go, "What were they thinking in the writing room?
Yeah,
Like, how do you come up with that?"
literally, I really think it's a big. I think Daniels are one of the greatest directing duos for modern cinema.
I
Uh,
mean, it's crazy.
it we've never seen anything like the stuff they've put out.
You know,
It's
and
crazy.
this is a bit of a tangent, right? But there were two multiverses movies that came out around this time. There was
Yeah.
this and Doctor Strange. And you'd think that like Doctor Strange would be the one that goes more off the wall because it's Doctor Strange.
Hmm.
That kind of
Hmm.
IP, you usually expect it to go in a bit of a more, non-conventional direction. But it played it so safe. Meanwhile,
It did.
Daniels are over here, you know, balancing like six different storylines in different multiverses all perfectly, and they all make sense, and all of these characters are differently unique from one another in these. That's crazy. That's
It's
crazy to
absolutely
me.
insane. It's so good. I I love Daniels. I love Daniels. I
And
could.
I can't.
Oh,
I cannot wait for their next work.
yeah,
Whenever it comes in the
yeah,
future, I can't wait. Off to a strong start.
yeah.
Both
Really.
Daniels films.
Yeah. You see, you
Um,
you bringing that up made me have to shift what I was gonna start off with because I
yeah,
I just had to bring it up.
yeah. Well,
But
I might have to do. No, I think I'm good here. Okay, because I can do my next one
mhm.
since you apparently we both had Daniels on
Yep,
there, which
yep.
is always great. But my next one is a bit of a tonal shift. Uh, my next movie is A Silent Voice, released in
Ooh.
2016. Um, you're gonna wonder what I put it on there
I,
for.
I feel like I have an idea. Is is this like made you appreciate animated films?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I mean, generally speaking, I would widely consider this probably the best animated movie that I've seen.
Hmm.
Um, it's very, I guess there's something about Japanese animation over American animation that I guess that's kind of cringy to say, like in a sense, but there's something that I can appreciate more about it, which is that it's a lot more unafraid to tell bigger stories like this that have a lot more mature themes and are generally unafraid to go in like more dramatic direction than American animation. Because let's be honest, most Americans don't look at animation the same way that other countries do.
True.
At the Oscars this year, I mean, already animation isn't taken seriously. Um, but I think it's important to realize that this kind of stuff exists within the realm of animation. You can make mature stories that look beautiful, that all the characters are really well done. The story's great. The art's fantastic, and the music is fantastic. I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah.
so many things about this that I think a lot of people that don't know about it overlook for it because animation as a medium is just as good as everything else, but it never gets the credit that it does because it's always seen as like a kid thing.
Absolutely. Especially, I think a big thing of it is the fact that here in the US, Disney has a pretty strong hold on animation.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, how many
and so,
best animated features go to
ev-
Disney or Pixar? I mean, it's
yeah, it's almost a lock in all the time for them.
yeah,
It's
and
insane.
I guess if we're gonna touch on Oscars and the Silent Voice, we got to talk about that snub.
Hey, I
Um,
don't know what you're talking about. I think the
and
Boss Baby deserved that
I
spot.
don't know. I mean,
And Ferdinand.
Boss Baby, maybe. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
It may be Oscar worthy, but Ferdinand, nuh-uh,
With
nuh-uh,
John Cena himself.
dude. John Cena is Ferdinand,
That
and
was. Oh, that.
dude, Oscar
Well,
worthy.
yeah, yeah, truly. Oh man, yeah. Like I love animated films, and like spoiler for mine, I don't have any animated films on mine.
That makes me
I
sad
I
because
wanted to, but there were just some I really really wanted to talk about that weren't animated, and I think we can do an entire episode on its own for
oh
animated
god,
sometime because there's so
yeah.
much to dive in with.
Yeah, and
Um,
and that makes me kind of sad you said that because a third of mine is
yeah.
animated.
Oh, you're
So
making up for me.
yeah, I'm taking up
Yeah,
a whole third of mine.
yeah.
I had to go overtime here.
There you go.
There we go.
But so my second one I'm gonna reveal is the movie Parasite, and obvious, but I want to see. Can you guess why I put this on the 3 by 3?
Is it because of the script?
No,
No,
it's
because
actually not.
I know how much you love the script on
I
Parasite.
I adore Parasite's script. I think it's phenomenal. But this movie is super like I just think it works on almost every level. And it's basically that movie. If you're gonna start watching movies with me, I'm going to make you watch Parasite.
Hmm.
And if you don't like Parasite, then that's a huge red flag to me because it's so good. It's
It's
such a great historical entryway into foreign film for people who haven't really gotten into it before. Just it's so good.
I mean, Parasite historically is like monumental.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great film,
It
no
works
doubt.
on it's I feel so comfortable saying it's probably one of the best movies ever made. I think it's Bong Joon-ho's best easily. I
See,
just love it.
I'm not going to say anything about if it's Bong Joon-ho's yet because I haven't seen Memories of Murder, and
True,
I've heard
true.
that that's his magnum opus. So, I won't say anything about it yet. But yeah, Parasite, fantastic movie.
Great movie. What
So
what's your third review?
my third reveal. Are you going on order? Or are you just like going
Well,
scatter
I
around?
was gonna go in order, but now I'm just gonna scatter around, say fuck it.
All right, all right. All right, dude. Cause I'll go fuck it too. And my next one is this one's pretty predictable. If you know my taste in films, and it's Inglorious Bastards,
Oh boy.
done by Quentin Tarantino.
I have no clue what you could do for this one.
Really,
Like, cause my initial instinct is style over substance, but I don't think that's what you put for it.
you're in the same vein. I think that out of these nine films, it's my favorite stylistically.
Okay.
I think that the overall style this movie has of like that kind of inspiration from spaghetti westerns
Hmm.
is really cool. I like that. They bring out old scores from Ennio Morricone, some of that old Sergio Leone kind of stuff where, you can definitely see the inspiration there. And then the story I think is cool how they all kind of merge together. Obviously I can't go about talking about this movie without talking about that opening and how
Yeah.
Tarantino builds tension because he is so good at it. That and the bar scene are just so good. Tarantino's like, I don't know how he does it, but I swear this dude knows how to build tension so easily. Um, it's probably got one of my favorite endings out of my nine films
Really?
here. Aside from probably A Silent Voice and one other movie on this list.
Wow.
Um, it's probably got my favorite ending. And then I like the score. I already touched on that. But I honestly, you want to know the crazy part?
Hmm.
I think this is uh, Brad Pitt's best. I'll be perfectly honest.
No
Yeah,
shot.
yeah.
Really?
I think this is one of Brad Pitt's best roles.
I could see it being one of his best roles, but his best? No. I
We can agree to disagree
we
here.
yeah, I think we can
We can
agree
agree to
disagree
disagree
there.
here. But if it's not his, you will agree with me on this next one. It's Christoph Waltz's
Oh,
best film
absolutely. Hans Land
because
Hans Landa is one of the greatest villains in any movie.
I mean, how many videos are there where you can just look up Hans Landa on YouTube and it's like 20, 30-minute, maybe even hour-long videos just examining one guy.
It's
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 crazy.
it's
It's
so
so
well
good.
done.
Such a good movie,
I
man.
love it. I love it so
Because
much.
I also did want to just put a Tarantino movie on the list
Hmm.
because I like his style, and out of all of them, Inglorious is probably my favorite.
That that's fair. That's fair. I can definitely see that. Um, kind of riding on those coattails of suspense. I'll just bring this movie up. 12 Angry Men.
Uh,
What you want to guess what I put that for?
I honestly don't know. I haven't seen it in quite a while.
It is
So
a a absolute thrill of a movie. And I think this movie really showed me how important it is, for me at least, going into a movie to have a good screenplay. Um, I like, yes, Parasite, phenomenal screenplay. I absolutely adore it, but I think nothing matches 12 Angry Men's tension. It's one setting, and it's straight up just dialogue and actions. There's no scene changes, no real like color changes or light changes or anything. It's literally just their performances. And I think the screenplay does such a good job with it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
if
can see that.
if no one's seen 12 Angry Men and really cares about screenplays, check it out. It's so good. This is probably
Well,
the most film bro-y I'm gonna be.
that yeah, that's probably it. It sounds like you just bought the Criterion collection,
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, if we're gonna talk about screenplay, I guess I'll do my next one,
All right.
which is The Social Network. And I know
Oh.
Alec and I don't agree on this at all, but I think the screenplay of The Social Network is untouched, at least of the 2010s. I can argue for at least the 21st century. It's probably one of the better screenplays. I think of the 2010s, it's the best. Um, Jesse Eisenberg does a great performance.
Mhm.
Trent Reznor, great score as well.
True. We do agree on
Um,
that at least.
so I think that's really, I mean, it's also somewhat engaging. I feel like because I mean, I guess the one thing that I think is really cool about it is, in hindsight, this came out in 2010, and this was back when Facebook was a lot. There wasn't a lot of like skeletons in the closet about Facebook that were like out there and wide open. And it kind of feels like nowadays it was almost like ahead of its time with that because
Yeah.
you know
I
if we had known what we know now, this would just be every Tuesday. But
yeah. I think that's the impressive thing about the screenplay. It it feels like with the time it came out, it was a huge risk, especially because, Facebook was pretty popular. In kind of doing the whole thing, kind of bashing the dude who made one of the biggest social media platforms
yeah,
was was such a huge risk.
yeah.
But
And then, of course, if we're gonna talk about this one, Andrew Garfield's scene near the end,
I will agree. I think that
well,
is a damn perfect scene. It's so good.
probably one of Andrew Garfield's best scenes, performances, at least for scenes. Not, I don't think for movies, but it's probably his best performance in that specific scene
Hmm.
that I've seen of him, maybe ever. But yeah,
He
Social Network, great screenplay. I love it so much.
So for my next one, I'm going to mention a little movie called A Ghost Story. Now, do you want to take a little stab at why I have this on my three by
Is,
three?
is it the presentation?
No, it's actually probably one of my most personal films.
Really?
Yeah, this is a genuinely heart-wrenching film. Um, I absolutely adore it. I think it's awesome. It's super art housey at the same time though. Um, like you literally have a scene where Rooney Mara is eating a pie for 5 minutes. Like that's all the scene is.
That's pretty art house, yeah.
But I adore this film so much. Um, it speaks a lot about grief and moving on and all that stuff. I think it's super just really just gut wrenching. And when I watched this movie, or I should say rewatch this movie, I was in a super like rough spot, and like watching this movie helped me a lot. And I owe a lot to this movie, like a
No,
lot.
It's a dub.
It,
It's a
it's
dub.
awesome. It's an awesome movie.
It's a dub. Okay. So speaking of movies that did a lot for us, my next one is might be a bit of a surprise to some of you.
Oh,
It is The Breakfast Club.
yeah.
Alec, man, oh, I love this movie so much,
You and me both.
dude. So my main reason for why I love The Breakfast Club is that it's so simple of of an idea of just like five kids go into detention
Mm-hmm.
and they all come out closer with each other, and you wouldn't think that that would be like profound or anything, and in some parts it definitely is not,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of the films that I would argue is probably the most timeless.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
because I mean, there's still stuff, what 50 years ago, 40, I can't count, that still applies to most adolescents and young adults today, which I think is really interesting that you can still apply some of the issues that these kids are facing today. I
I.
think the pop music in it's good. I like all the characters except for one. If
Who?
you know, you know. The jock. I don't like the jock at all.
Really?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I feel like they just kind of glossed over his character. Everyone else seems like really developed except for
Mm-hmm.
him.
Yeah.
So,
That's fair. I love The Breakfast Club. It's such a soft spot for me.
it's
It's
it's it's kind of like a comfort film, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I do not blame you. Uh, no, no. With my my next film, I'm going to take a complete 180. The movie
Oh,
is Requiem for a Dream.
Jesus Christ.
You want to take a guess?
It's gotta be the cinematography and the style. It has to be.
it's this one's a much more story based one. Um,
Okay.
yeah, the style of it's phenomenal. I think it's amazing. But oh my God, after watching this movie for the first time,
Oh,
I actually stopped watching movies for like a month because it
it's
was just so much.
it's an exhausting watch,
Yeah.
dude.
But it's so good, but it's a movie where you genuinely will only watch it once.
I mean, I can't even put into words how to describe it. It's almost
Yeah,
it's like watching people's lives fall apart. I mean, it's
exactly.
hard. It's hard to
It's
watch.
such a hard watch, but I don't know, it's this weird sort of rewarding feeling at the end. Um, I don't know.
Is that because the movie's over or because
I I think it's a mix of the fact that it's over, but also it's like just this really real story that I think like I always cite this movie as being the greatest Dare campaign movies that has no association with Dare
yeah,
because it it feels so real.
because there is something that happens to a specific character. And for
Oh,
those who aren't aware, I was a frequent plasma donor. There's something that happens to a certain character in this movie that like made me second guess it. I'll be honest. It's brutal. It's not
yeah.
a happy movie at all.
This is the movie with no joy in it.
I mean, any hope that you have, it just rips it from you. It's hard.
Yeah. Darren Aronofsky, man.
Dude, has he ever been happy in his life?
Um,
Like,
probably not.
I don't think he's made one movie where anything good happens to any of the main characters.
Yeah.
So sad.
What
You know,
what's your next one?
my next one is actually one that I don't think anybody listening has heard of,
Oh.
and I have talked with you about this a little bit, and it's a movie that you can watch right now on YouTube called "Fighting in the Age of Loneliness,"
Oh, yep. Yep.
and I don't think you even I don't think you know much about it either.
I do not. I only know
Okay.
about you talking about it, but why don't you share a little bit what
Okay.
it's about?
So I put this on the 3 by 3 because I think that a major point that I like to make is I can attest that movies are very accessible to the point where you can just watch like really high quality content on YouTube because this is all available on YouTube. It's a 5 part miniseries, but there is a condensed full version on YouTube available to watch. It's around 2 hours, and it sort of parallels the rise of mixed martial arts with political commentary, which sounds weird. Like that sounds like a weird kind of mix that you would do with these two, but the way that the presentation of it all is fantastic. There's a lot of great use of graphs and kind of like in a weird way geometry.
What?
I can't explain it. The only way that I can explain it is if you've seen it. But the way that they present it, it's very like a minimalist style, but it has that artistic feel of like you're watching something high quality and it's just available to you for free on YouTube if you just look up Fighting in the Age of Loneliness. It's 2 hours long, and I would go on record saying that it's probably the greatest sports movie I've ever seen.
Wow. That is a ballsy
It's
statement.
a bold statement, but I feel like it's up there,
Wow.
and it won't get the recognition that it has because one, it's on YouTube, and two, most people who like would consider themselves sports movie buffs probably haven't seen it because it's more of a documentary kind of style than like a more drama or
Hmm.
like the modern like athletic soap opera, I guess, if you want to call it that. Yeah, it's a
Damn.
hefty claim, but I mean, I'll back it up any day.
I'll have to check it out because
Hmm.
it does sound good, but that is such a like film I don't think anyone's seen. I don't know how the hell to follow that up. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
I, you know,
I had to throw you a curveball here.
I guess for my next one, I'll just knock out the other Darren Aronofsky film, and that movie is Black Swan. I don't know if you'll know why I have this movie on
Uh,
here. It's a
Man,
toughie.
I honestly can't tell you because
It
there's a lot of great things about Black
Yeah,
Swan.
Black Swan is genuinely phenomenal, but the big thing about this movie is it made me fall in love with one of the big themes of this movie, and that is about how obsession can eat you up, and how it affects a person's psyche and their entire lives. There's a lot of movies that sort of do this, but I don't think there's any at the level Black Swan does it. It's so well done, and I just adore it. This movie is so rewatchable. I've watched it probably 3 times in the past month. Um, but God, I love it. I
I've
love it so much.
I always love the second half of the movie just
Oh,
because it definitely embraces that kind of theme that it keeps going with of like self-absorbing yourself
hmm.
in this kind of thing that you're obsessed with and trying to like continually improve on it. And of course, you did mention there are a lot of movies like that. I could name like five off the top of my
Oh
head,
yeah, yeah,
but I feel like Black Swan's final scene is probably one of the best when it comes
absolutely.
to its presentation of how it deals with these themes.
It's so good. Cause I will say I was very close at actually putting Nightcrawler on here instead. But then I actually remembered the final scene again, and I'm like, never mind.
Yeah.
This is the
Well,
easiest pick.
because I debated putting Whiplash on mine. It's not on there. I debated
Hmm.
putting Whiplash on mine, mostly for the same reason that you put Black Swan.
Hmm.
But there's one movie on here that I was like, I have to put it on here, and you got to make
Oh,
sacrifices.
oh,
So, uh, you know, had to be cut, unfortunately. But yeah, I get where you're coming from with
yeah,
that.
yeah. You got me curious now.
Alrighty.
What
Well, I
movie is
guess
it?
I guess since I'm on about it, I guess I'll say that that movie is Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, oh boy.
So, I mean, um, in terms of, you can probably guess why I have this on here.
Is it for the same reason I absolutely adore that film? For its
Let's hear it.
visuals?
It is the visually the greatest film I
Yeah.
think I've ever seen. There are so many shots in here that I'm baffled that they were able to get.
Hmm.
And it's reminiscent of like what cyberpunk was intended to be, what it intended
Yeah.
to look like. It looks so amazing with the way that it presents the world around you. It world builds even more than it did in Blade Runner, from the past. It's a great sequel and a great legacy movie.
The best.
Um, yeah, the best. I mean, there's no debate about that. Ryan Gosling is fantastic in his role. I'd argue this is the one movie where Harrison Ford just decides to play a character other than Harrison Ford. Um, I, ironically enough, Jared Leto's probably one of his better performances. I guess that's a controversial statement,
I,
but
yeah.
yeah, there's so much, and there's a certain trope that gets subversed near the end of this movie, which I think speaks volumes.
Hmm.
I mean, it's so good.
It's really well done. Uh, it that movie's cinematography is so great.
I mean, oh my God. The way that they use colors as well
Hmm.
within the
Yeah.
cinematography.
It just works so well in this kind of world they create. I I love it. It's so
I mean,
good.
it
It's
looks great.
it's so well done, and I think everyone on that movie just put their A game on it.
I mean,
Like,
there's so I feel like it's criminally underrated, which is weird for me to say since I know how much within like the film sphere it's
mhm.
hailed. But I don't think the average individual go around saying, "Yeah, Blade Runner 2049 is like one of the greatest movies ever made."
Yeah,
No.
because to be fair, it is a pretty long movie.
Yeah, it is around 3 hours.
But I think the sort of slow pace works for the movie. Um, but definitely not for everyone.
I mean, Blade Runner movies are kind of synonymous with these very slow burn
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
we build it up over time kind of thing. Because
yeah,
the original Blade Runner was unbelievably slow.
yeah. And it is such a good noir film.
Yeah.
But oh god, I'm gonna kind of ride on those coattails of sort of visuals to talk about probably one of my favorite genres, and this is gonna be a controversial take. Um, Found footage slash mockumentaries, I adore, and one of the biggest reasons I think it's so great, just having the idea of the main character being basically subversed in making either a documentary or just having this camera, and the camera's an actual like item in the movie and it has a point, uh, is so fascinating. And I think the movie Creep actually does it super, super well. I have you seen Creep, Nate?
I don't believe I have.
Oh, oh boy, it's so good. It's an absolute gem of a movie. Uh, Especially in the horror sphere. It's so good. It's basically this guy gets hired by a guy who wants to record these videos for his son before he dies from cancer. And it gets very uneasy, and there's so much tension and it builds up so quick. And just the entire concept of our main character being the one behind the camera really ties super well into it, and I adore it. Um, it I'm just such a sucker for these kinds of movies.
That's what I find interesting with found footage is that within horror, there's always like I think the scariest thing about horror is when it's plausible, when you can
Oh yeah.
think about it in your head and be like, yeah, this could actually happen. And I feel like found footage is perfect for that because I mean the plausibility of, hey, this dude was recording this thing and then you're witnessing like the found footage of it. Because I mean we live
Yeah.
in the age of social media where, someone could upload something online and that would scare the fuck out of me if I saw
Yeah.
like the Babadook just like on Twitter.
Just
Just
staring you
this,
down.
this dude like I found the Babadook the mail.
It's like the modern day Momo challenge and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It, it just Creep is such a gem, and every Halloween I try and make it a major objective of mine to kind of watch it, 'cause it's just so good. It's so well done. And
Yeah.
that's just that, and then you go to the sequel of it, which also is phenomenally done. And I really hope when the third one comes out, it is just as good.
We're gonna do a bit of a tonal shift here.
All right.
Uh, my next film is animated.
Oh.
So my next film is The Incredibles.
Oh yeah. I know exactly what it's for.
So if you'd want to go ahead and guess
Yeah.
that,
Your
I would.
your favorite superhero movie.
It is. It is
Yep.
my favorite superhero movie. I'm
Yep.
a Marvel fan. I like my DC, and I think the Batman, which got released earlier this year, is phenomenal. It's fantastic. But The Incredibles is just that movie. It's just that good.
It's really good.
Um, it tells a very mature story. When it doesn't really need to.
Mm-hmm.
All the characters are fleshed out really well, even in the prequel sections before a time skip happens. The style of it with that kind of 1950s, 1960s look is
Yeah.
great, and Michael Giacchino, who I believe did the score, I hope I'm not wrong there, leans into that perfectly with that jazz-inspired kind of score that just sounds amazing. Um, for 2004, the visuals are pretty good.
Oh yeah.
The character designs are all great. Helen, oh my lordy. Oh my god. And then, of course, I think the overall story is really good. I think Syndrome as a character is great as well. Overall, I mean, it's a banger movie.
It's
It's
a
a
great
banger
movie.
movie. And again, Pixar's best, and it proves.
Yeah.
Take animation seriously, people.
Yeah.
You are missing some great stuff.
There's some really great things in the animated sphere.
Because, I mean, oh, man.
It's so good.
It's such a good movie.
Like even rewatching it is such a gem because it still holds up really well.
I mean, it holds up fantastically well.
It's crazy.
Because
Like,
I guess this is my hot take for the day.
hmm
But Marvel will never make anything like The Incredibles because it's
oh
too
no,
risky.
no, yeah.
It's too risky.
The there's no way we'll sort of see that.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I think it'd
Mm-hmm.
be awesome, but
Oh.
there's not really much I can go off with that. But really, for my my next sort of panel, I'll just say the movie and see if it rings any bells for you, because I don't know if it will, but it's
Mm-hmm.
called I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. This one broke you, didn't it?
It it did, but that's not why it's on here.
It's not why
Um,
it's on here.
I think it's my favorite sort of how's it like messaging and symbolism,
Mm-hmm.
uh, while also being extremely mindfucky. Uh, I think there's some huge crazy things that happen in this movie for such a somber sort of film. This is a movie where you genuinely have to watch it like 3 times for the chance to maybe get it. It is also probably one of the most looked up ending explains for a movie because it has so many different things going on in it that all work together to make this extremely symbolistic, like mindfucky film, and I love it. I love it so
So,
much.
so what I'm hearing is, if I go into it, I need to mentally prepare.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Have you seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Yes.
Think that kind of mindfucky, because
Jesus.
it's the same writer who did
Oh
that.
boy.
So
Okay.
it's a gem. It's great. I love it, but it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I am on
Yep.
my last tile.
Yep. I have one more.
So, my final film here, also animated, and this won't come as a surprise to Alec, and I hope
Oh.
that you guys will take my recommendation here with this one. But this is a movie called Belle.
Oh. Yep. Yep.
It's the most recent movie by Mamoru Hosoda, who's known for his other works such as Mirai and Summer Wars. Also, Wolf Children. He did that as well. It's probably one of his most popular. But this one I picked because one, it's the best looking animated movie I've ever seen. I think the virtual world they build in this one, because there are parts that take place in a virtual world. Think more like a metaverse kind of thing, but not like.
It's
See,
metaverse.
I can't explain it without sounding stupid.
VR
Think of
chat.
like think of like a virtual world kind of thing where people gather. They built that world was built so well.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then the real world sections are pretty good. Uh, but I gotta give this one to the two biggest things about this. First of all, the music. Jesus, there is not one miss in this at all. I mean, when we talk about like musicals, I'm not a big fan of musicals. I think most of them are pretty you know? But this one, there are no misses. Every song is really well. All the orchestration and instrumentation in it are fantastic. And then the second one I want to point out is the voice work.
Oh
This
yeah.
is a special shout out to the English voice actor of the main character, Kylie McNeil. Oh my god. I don't talk about this a lot, but I have a big issue with most English dubbings of Japanese animation because they usually just use the same English voice actors over and over and over, and it gets annoying.
Oh
But
yeah.
this one, she sounds so close to like the initial voice actor in in talking and singing. It's actually phenomenal. Her singing ability is so good.
It's
I mean,
really good.
I was blown away. And the third act, it's there's a certain part of the third act. There's a song and there's a performance in the third act that I got chills over. And I mean, it's so good. I had to warm up to it over time, but I mean, it's such a good movie. And
Yeah.
you can get it right now. It's available on Blu-ray here in the US. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's such a good movie.
Yeah, and the soundtrack like is so listenable.
I mean,
There's so many times I've just kind of put it on. It's so good. It's I love it.
they knocked it out of the park
They
with this
did.
one, dude.
It's really good. It's so good. But
Yeah.
I I think it's kind of funny. My final film is actually the middle square of the 3 by 3, and I I'm just gonna say the name and see if you can guess what it is. Because I probably mentioned it maybe once or twice to you. But the
Mm-hmm.
movie is called Brigsby Bear. Does it ring any bells?
Not a fucking
None?
clue.
All right. So this is the movie that really reignited my passion for film. Um, I I found myself pretty burnt out of movies for quite some time, and then I saw this trailer for Brigsby Bear, and it's basically this guy who got kidnapped, and he's kind of readjusting into normal society because he was super sheltered, and he only knew about this character named Brigsby Bear. And he basically goes on this whole quest to create a movie about Brigsby Bear. And it is such a good movie. I really love it. It's really just a love movie to filmmaking, um, while also being this great sort of weird kind of coming of age, I would say. I think it works really well on all these different levels, and it I have such a special spot in my heart for this movie because it did a lot for me, and I actually own it on DVD. I made it a mission for me to get it, um, so I could always watch it because it's sadly not on any streaming services. Um, but it's such a good movie. I highly recommend it to anyone who's sort of looking for that movie to sort of give them a reason to love film again because it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it,
Sounds
it's
sounds very original.
it's absolutely original, and I love it. There's this whole costume of Brigsby Bear, and I think it looks so fitting for the movie, and it's great. It's such a love movie to filmmaking, and it feels just real. It's great. It's great.
Alrighty.
But yeah, that is our three by threes.
Yep.
Um, I thank you all for kind of sitting through here and listening to us talk about our love for movies. Um, I hope you got to know us a little bit more, right, Nate?
Oh yeah, dude. I always love to talk about movies.
Yeah,
You know,
'cause
it's
and we'll be around quite more. So
yep.
stick around if you enjoy this kind of thing and join us for this adventure. And thank you guys for kind of dealing with our sort of scuffed setup right now because we are two college kids, so we are currently not able to record together. So
We're very far away from each other.
yeah, yeah. So we we're kind of adjusting. But I thank you all for listening. And yeah, anything you'd like to say, Nate, before we end it?
Uh, no, I think I'm good here.
All right. Take care, y'all. Have a great evening, day, night, whenever you're sort of listening to this, and we'll see you next time.